Jeffrey Epstein's name still haunts American society, not just for his crimes, but for the powerful systems that enabled him. The case is about more than one man. It's about the unchecked privilege that allowed abuse to flourish in elite circles. The victims deserve answers, and the public demands transparency to ensure this never happens again. Epstein's lenient 2008 plea deal exposed a justice system that too often shields the wealthy. Every new document is a chance to correct past failures and expose the full machinery of his operation. That's why, even years after his death, every new release of information sends shockwaves through the public and the halls of power. On September 26, 2025, House Democrats made headlines by releasing just 6 pages from a trove of more than 8,500 documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein. The move came after months of mounting public pressure and speculation about what secrets might be hidden within the vast collection of files. The decision to release only a tiny fraction of the documents immediately drew scrutiny from both the media and the public, who questioned what criteria were used to select these particular pages and why so much remained concealed. The 6 pages, heavily redacted and difficult to decipher, were drawn from Epstein's personal schedules. Even with large portions blacked out, they offered a rare and tantalizing glimpse into the daily dealings of a man whose connections spanned the globe. The redactions, however, left many details obscured, fueling frustration and curiosity in equal measure. Observers pored over the limited information, searching for clues about the true extent of Epstein's influence and the identities of those who interacted with him. Names, dates, and brief notes, some barely legible, hinted at the astonishing breadth of Epstein's network. The documents suggested connections that reached deep into the worlds of technology, high finance, and global politics. Each entry, even when partially obscured, raised new questions about the nature of these relationships and the possible implications for those involved. The mere suggestion of such powerful figures being linked to Epstein was enough to spark intense debate and speculation. The release, though small in scale, immediately reignited public interest in the Epstein case. News outlets ran with the story, dissecting every detail and speculating about what might be hidden in the unreleased pages. Social media buzzed with theories and demands for more information, as people across the country debated the significance of the documents and the motivations behind their selective release. The move also raised fresh questions about transparency and accountability in government investigations. Critics were quick to argue that the selective release was politically motivated, designed to control the narrative and protect certain interests. Editorials and commentators questioned whether the public was being shown only what lawmakers wanted them to see. Yet the move also underscored a growing demand for full transparency, not just in the Epstein case, but in all matters where public trust is at stake. The debate over what should be made public only intensified. Each name revealed in the documents became a thread in the complex web of Epstein's connections, sparking renewed calls for the entire archive to be made public. Activists, journalists, and ordinary citizens alike demanded to know who else might be implicated and what other secrets the documents might hold. The pressure on lawmakers and investigators to release more information continued to build, as the public's appetite for answers showed no sign of waning. For now, the story remains far from over. The vast majority of Epstein's secrets are still locked away in thousands of unreleased pages, hidden behind closed doors and guarded by layers of bureaucracy. As the world waits for the next revelation, one thing is clear: the demand for truth and accountability is only growing stronger. Among the many names revealed in the newly unsealed Epstein documents, one in particular stands out and captures the world's attention: Elon Musk. As the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, Musk is one of the most influential and recognizable figures in technology and business today. His name appearing in any context related to Jeffrey Epstein is bound to spark intense curiosity and concern, given the gravity of the allegations surrounding Epstein's activities and the high-profile individuals often found in his orbit. The document in question contains a single, cryptic entry dated December 6, 2014. It reads, "Reminder, Elon Musk to island on December 6th. Is this still happening?" This brief note, scribbled in a planner, is the only direct reference to Musk in the files. There are no details, no context, and no follow-up. It's a fragment of a conversation, a question left hanging in the air, and it immediately raises eyebrows. Importantly, there is no evidence that Musk ever visited Epstein's private island, nor is there any indication that he participated in any illegal activities. The entry is simply a question in a schedule, not a record of an actual event. Legal experts and investigators emphasize that a mention in a planner does not equate to proof of wrongdoing or even of a meeting taking place. Still, the mere association with Epstein's infamous private island, long known as a site of alleged abuse and exploitation, casts a shadow of suspicion. For many, any connection, no matter how tenuous, is enough to prompt uncomfortable questions about who knew what and when. Epstein was notorious for seeking out relationships with powerful figures in science, technology, and finance. He often courted these individuals, hoping to legitimize himself and expand his influence by associating with the world's elite. Musk's name appearing in the files fits this established pattern of Epstein's behavior. Yet, the document offers no answers, only more questions. Did Musk and Epstein ever actually meet? Was there a business relationship, a social connection? Or was this simply an unfulfilled plan? The lack of detail leaves a void, fueling speculation about the true nature of Epstein's network and the extent of his reach into the highest echelons of power. As news of Musk's mention spreads, the public is left to speculate, piecing together fragments of information and wondering what, if anything, lies beneath the surface. The story becomes a topic of heated debate, both online and in the media, as people search for clarity in a sea of uncertainty. In the end, a single line in a ledger opens up a whole new line of inquiry into Epstein's influence and the powerful people who crossed his path. For now, the questions far outnumber the answers. Another name in the documents is Peter Thiel, billionaire investor and Silicon Valley power broker. A note from November 27, 2017, lists a planned lunch between Thiel and Epstein, years after Epstein's sex offender status was public. The entry gives no details about the meeting's purpose or whether it happened. Thiel's inclusion highlights Epstein's ongoing access to influential figures, even after his conviction. There's no evidence of wrongdoing, but the meeting raises questions about why such powerful people continued to engage with Epstein. Each entry like this expands the scope of inquiry into Epstein's post-conviction network. Steve Bannon, former White House strategist, also appears in Epstein's ledger. A lunch was scheduled for February 16, 2019, just months before Epstein's final arrest. By then, public scrutiny of Epstein was intense, making Bannon's scheduled meeting especially notable. The document doesn't reveal the meeting's purpose or if it occurred, but the timing is striking. Epstein's network spanned politics as well as tech and finance, and Bannon's inclusion adds a new political dimension. For some, it's evidence of moral compromise. For others, just another name in a long list. Regardless, Bannon's documented link to Epstein ensures questions about their association will persist. Each new name deepens the complexity and intrigue of the case. House Democrats say releasing these names is just the beginning, a catalyst for a broader investigation. Their goal? Identify every individual complicit in Epstein's crimes and deliver justice for survivors. By spotlighting high-profile names, they aim to pressure the Department of Justice to release all 8,544 documents. Democrats argue that secrecy has protected Epstein's enablers for too long. Only full transparency can bring closure. They frame their actions as a moral imperative and a duty to the public. The survivors have waited long enough. Partial justice isn't enough. For Democrats, these 6 pages are just the first crack in a dam that must break. Republicans on the committee call the document release a partisan stunt. They accuse Democrats of cherry-picking information for political gain, not justice. The GOP argues the released pages add little new and that real transparency means releasing everything, not just what's convenient. Republicans promise to push for the full release, claiming the moral high ground on transparency. Both sides accuse each other of politicizing the case, turning a quest for justice into another partisan battle. The fight over these documents mirrors the broader dysfunction in Washington. To truly grasp the gravity of Jeffrey Epstein's story, we must first confront the staggering scale and depravity of his crimes. This is not just a tale of one man's wrongdoing, but a chilling example of how power, privilege, and secrecy can be weaponized to inflict harm on the most vulnerable. For decades, Epstein operated in the shadows of the world's elite, He used his immense wealth, lavish properties, and a web of influential connections to traffic and abuse underage girls. His crimes were not isolated incidents. They were systematic, calculated, and often enabled by powerful associates who turned a blind eye or actively participated. The opulence of his lifestyle masked the darkness beneath, allowing him to move freely among politicians, celebrities, and business leaders, all while exploiting those with no voice. In 2008, a controversial plea deal allowed Epstein to escape serious consequences. He served minimal jail time, much of it on work release, and his network continued to flourish. This deal, shrouded in secrecy, protected not only Epstein, but also those who may have been complicit. For years, survivors' pleas for justice were ignored, and the system failed to hold him accountable. It wasn't until renewed investigations in 2019 that Epstein was finally arrested. The world watched as the walls closed in, but before he could stand trial and name names, he was found dead in his jail cell. The official ruling was suicide, but the circumstances surrounding his death only deepened public suspicion and outrage. Epstein's death left countless questions unanswered. For his victims, it meant the loss of their chance to confront him in court and seek closure. For the public, it sparked a storm of conspiracy theories, as many wondered who else might have been implicated if the full truth had come to light. With no trial, the only hope for answers now lies in the troves of legal documents, ledgers, and confidential files left behind. Investigators, journalists, and advocates continue to sift through these records, searching for evidence, connections, and the names of those who may have escaped justice. The pursuit of these records is about more than just setting the historical record straight. It's about honoring the courage of survivors, demanding accountability, and refusing to let the powerful rewrite the narrative. Justice was denied in Epstein's lifetime, but the fight for truth and accountability continues. The Epstein case stands as a stark reminder of how unchecked power can corrupt the very systems meant to protect us. It challenges us to ask, how many more stories like this remain hidden, and what will it take to finally bring them to light? The only way forward is full transparency. Secrecy enabled Epstein's abuse and shielded his network for decades. Releasing documents is just the first step. Real justice requires thorough investigation and accountability. The public's demand for answers is relentless, and the pressure on officials will only grow. The names revealed so far may be just the beginning. What's hidden could reshape tech, finance, and politics. If transparency prevails, it could mark a turning point in confronting abuse of power. The journey isn't over, but the truth, however uncomfortable, is the only acceptable destination.